Hey folks, this is Shetz, and this formula here, y equals a, that stood for the amplitude, and that goes above and below the vertical shift. And we'll get to more of that later. But as I've told you right now, your sine and cosine is the x-axis, is your midline. It's what I called the midline. And I'm just using this as sine. And today we're going to look at the period. And whatever this number is that's in front of the x, that's going to go under 2 pi. So this is for a horizontal shift, and this is your midline. So we'll see how much we get done. I think we go to school till next Tuesday. All right, so let me get back to notes, and this will be slide number 12. And right now, every sine and cosine has been 2 pi. And here's this b. I'll put an a in of a 1. I've always made those green in the past. There's a 1 in front of the sine. So that's our amplitude. That's going to be a 1. And this 2, and let me change colors for you. This 2 goes under 2 pi. So then this 2, I'm going to put it under 2 pi. And notice how the 2's cancel out. So then this equals just a pi. And I always think of this as 2 cycles in its normal 2 pi. Therefore, in 1 cycle, it's going to be pi. Okay. So I know that half of pi is pi over 4. And now, folks, all I'm going to do is count. And listen to the way I count. 1 pi over 4, 2 pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, and this would be 4 pi over 4. So this is 3 pi over 4. Okay. And that's going to be 1 cycle. So here's my answer. Sine starts even Steven. Then it goes up. Then it crosses. Then it goes low. And then it crosses. So there's your normal sine curve as well as the answer to this problem. And I'm drawing this with a mouse, so I have to do nice and slowly. There you go. Okay. So that's our answer in blue. Let's scroll down here. So as b is greater than 1, the basic sine graph compresses. That's a great word. There you go. Okay, well, let's look at this one now. This is the cosine. And again, I know my amplitude's a 1 because there's nothing there. So I'll just put a 1 there. Now remember, cosine starts high. And we might as well do the period now. So remember that that number in front of the x always goes under 2 pi. And now when I divide by this fraction, I have to invert and multiply. And guess what I'm going to get? I'm going to get a 4 pi here. And that's 1 cycle. It's actually doing, and I'll say it again, I always think of this in the normal 2 pi. So it's doing a half a cycle in its normal 2 pi. So a whole cycle will be 4 pi. And we're doing cosine. So remember, cosine starts high. And let me get a bit bigger one here, and I'll do it in blue. So, hey, Winston. So, cosine starts high, crosses, goes low, crosses, and finishes high. And I hope you caught my mistake. This guy here, I was down too low. And there's your cosine curve. Starts high. Whoops. Let me get on my pen. It starts high. It crosses. It goes low. It crosses and finishes high. That wasn't too bad for doing a mouse. So as b is between 0 and 1, our basic cosine graph is going to stretch or elongate, not compress, but the other way. All right, let's go with elongate. All right, next page. I don't want to make this video too long. And again, notice B, and I'll go back to it so you can see it. Sorry, wrong one. This B, the number in front of the X, is what goes under 2 pi. We already know our amplitude and the quartile length. Quartile means 4, so you take your period and divide it by 4. Nothing too much about here. And this is what I was kind of saying. Even Steven goes high, crosses, goes low, crosses. And then the cosine curve. We start high, we cross, we go low, we cross, and we finish high. So they're my words that I use, and I kind of like that. All right, let me see if we have anything else. We got one more long one here. Okay, so I know my amplitudes are 2. And we're doing sine curve. And again, like our last problem, this goes under 2 pi. When you divide by a fraction, you have to multiply by the reciprocal. So our period is going to be 4 pi. And again, I only care about one whole cycle. So we're amplitude of 2. Quartile length, we're to take our period and divide that by 4. So guess what? Each quartile will be pi units long. Alrighty. So I guess I can start graphing this now. And we are doing the sine graph. So sine starts even Steven. And then we're going to have to go high. And remember, amplitude goes up to a 2. And notice I put it under pi because that's a quartile length. Now I have to move another whole pi. It crosses, it goes low, and it finally finishes up right there. Not too bad, Schutz. Now, and again, there are 5 points. So let me highlight the 5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And these are our critical points because we have our crosses the x-axis, maximum, crosses again, minimum, and that type of thing. Some teachers will have you write this, and that's fine. And let me type it in here now. It might be a little too big, and I can't make it smaller for right now. So obviously, this guy is starting out at 0, 0, because it is the sine curve. And then we go to this guy down here. That looks like I can just hit enter and it'll make it nice. Our next critical point happens at pi, and I can't use the symbol. Well, I guess I could. I could use the symbol here. So pi, comma, where are we? All the way up at a 2. And the next critical point would be right here, and that's at 2 pi, comma 0. Almost done here, folks. We'll do our fourth critical point. That's going to be 3 pi and negative 2. And I forgot to put a parenthesis on the problem above it. I know you're probably tired of me talking, so that's a 3 pi. Almost done here, comma negative 2, because it's going low. And one last one, the fifth one would be a 4 comma 0, or 4 pi, excuse me, 4 pi comma 0. Whoops. There you go, folks. It's not necessary to do these because you're going to see it on your paper, on your homework. And your homework, this was what, slide 13? So homework's going to be 14 and 15. So there you go, folks. That's going to be slide 14 and 15. And you have a great day. Please always check out your answer key. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.